It's your favorite podcast again, Jasmine and Emily.
Hey there.
Today we are going to be talking about West and East Coast rap, as well as the 13th Amendment and treatment in prison. How to be aware of your thoughts and keep your thoughts positive.
We got a lot of good shit to talk about. So let's just jump right into the East Coast and West Coast. But it's really not even a conversation. So when it comes to hip hop, the East Coast is obviously the better coast. Their lineup is way too legendary. It's where hip hop was born, and they focus on the lyrical content, which I feel like that's what hip hop is all about.
I do agree that they focus on the lyrical content, but I think that the West Coast have more legendary people who actually changed hip hop, in my opinion, as far as the beats, adding gangster rap, adding hyphy music. They're more legendary for that.
I mean, they definitely did invent gangster rap, but it's like, hip hop really wouldn't be shit if the Wu-Tang ever dropped Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers.
Okay, and I feel like what would hip hop be without the Chronic as well?
But then after that, Nas dropped Illmatic, which is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time.
But then you have people like NWA who dropped Straight Outta Compton, which again had a big impact on hip hop.
I mean, this is true. I won't deny the West Coast is definitely dope. It's just, when it comes to hip hop, the East Coast just has them knocked out of the water. Like, they focus more on the lyrics. They're just more conscious rappers, whereas the West Coast, they're more into having a fun, upbeat approach.
They do have a fun, upbeat approach, but I feel like as well they talk about what's going on in their environment too, just like the East Coast. They just more laid back with it.
They are. I feel like both sides definitely express what's going on in the neighborhood.
Right.
So you do have to appreciate that for both coasts. But the West Coast just, I don't know, they do it in a different way. Like the East Coast, they really give you that feeling of that darkness and that ruggedness and the struggle.
I feel like the West Coast give you a feeling of the struggle too, but it's just more of like
a positive light.
I would say it's more angry and violent how we feel what's going on in our environment.
I mean, not necessarily, because like the East Coast, they have DMX, who probably has one of the most violent and twisted lyrics in hip hop. Like when he dropped It's Dark and Hell is Hot, that shit is really hip hop poetry. Like DMX is really a poet, in my opinion. Better than Edgar Allan Poe out here.
But if you want to talk about poets, you know he's not better than Tupac. But Tupac was the best poet rapper that was out.
I mean, Tupac is definitely a poet. He did write a whole poetry book. He did write a whole poetry book, but people are probably gonna kill me for saying that. I just feel like lyrically wise, Tupac just, he's not really up there.
You don't
like lyrically wise, no. Like he definitely talks about dope shit and he talks about real shit and all of that. But the way he puts his lyrics together, it's not really nothing advanced. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're saying, but of course I don't agree. I'm sure a lot of people won't. For real, I just feel like Tupac, he gave you that image like, yeah, I'm considered a thug and I'm hard, but I still can be emotional and I still care about society and what other people are going through.
Yeah. I feel like after Tupac died, the West Coast hip-hop scene kind of disappeared from the mainstream.
Definitely did. That's when you start getting your Jay-Z's and, well, I mean, he's been out.
Yeah, but he started popping more and the East Coast was just really on it. And then hyphy music came out, like E40 dropped Tell Me When to Go, Mac Dre. So the West Coast kind of came back, and now I feel like the roles are reversed, because right now
they came back fully.
Because right now it's really no prolific East Coast rappers. Like really, I feel like all we have is ASAP, Joey Badass, Dave East, Fabulous.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's just not the same as it was on the East Coast before.
Which is why I like the West Coast more, because it gave you more options to me. Like back in the day, you had people like Dr. Dre, but then you'll have Too Short for hype music too.
Yeah.
So now, like in West Coast, you have like Kendrick Lamar, you have YG,
Don Kennedy.
Yeah, it's like
they just have a wider variety over there. I'll give them that. I will give them that, because on the East Coast, it's just all that, you know, dark sound and hard shit.
I mean, it's all good, but it kind of, to me, it kind of all is just like about the same thing.
Everyone just has their own personal preference with like the sound that they like, and the East Coast and West Coast sounds are just like total opposites.
Yeah, West Coast is like funkadelic. It's fun. You just want to be, you just want to be chilling, having fun.
Yeah, I feel it. But I feel like with the West Coast though, they never really had any female artists.
Never.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, not at all. I can't think of anybody at all. Literally, not even to this day. West Coast never really had
nobody good as fuck that is.
Exactly.
You know, they be having them little 11 hip hop hoes.
Don't associate that with it.
I'm just saying. That's what they got on the West Coast.
No, but I do feel that the East Coast did have like Foxy Brown,
Lil Kim, Remy Ma, Lauryn Hill.
Yes, they did have a lot of fire females.
But getting back into had the biggest impact on hip hop as a whole, like the East Coast is just, they had the biggest impact, because with Enter the Wu-Tang and Illmatic, they just changed the whole sound of hip hop. Because before then it was like that boom bap rap shit with like Slick Rick, Jam Master Jay, and all of that. So they really paved the way for hip hop after that. Raekwon dropped Only Built for Cuban Links. GZA dropped Liquid Swords. They just really set everybody up to talk about real shit and have a sound that they didn't have before.
Which, I mean, it can be the same for the West Coast with the Chronic. It changed the way that hip hop is now, as far as adding the funkadelic, the gangster rap, and then the Chronic opened up doors for like Snoop Dogg with Doggy Style, Warren G with Regulate, so it's literally the same thing, I can say.
I mean, this is true, but it's like, if you look at the top 10 greatest rappers of all time, the only person on the list is Tupac. Everybody else is from the East Coast.
Okay.
Like, that's just what it is. I understand.
I have no comeback on that.
Exactly. Like, I understand, you know, the West Coast, they have that good vibe. Their music is dope. Like, I'm not saying their music is trash. It's just,
of course,
on the level of hip hop, they're just not touching the East Coast.
I would have to disagree, because I feel like if Tupac was still alive, the West Coast would still be running things.
They weren't running things when he was alive.
So you telling me when the Chronic dropped, you had Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, they weren't popping way more than the East Coast?
Definitely weren't popping way more. Like, yeah, they were popping, they were nationwide, but compared to the East Coast at that time, we had Biggie, Nas, Jay-Z, Wu-Tang, Rakim. The list goes on and on. Mobb Deep. Like, that time period, the East Coast was just on top. Like, yeah, it's changed now, but in the times that matter,
talking about
that
still matter to
the East Coast was on top. So in conclusion, what we learned here today is that the East Coast, they're on top of the hip hop game.
Maybe to her, the East Coast is on top of the hip hop game, but I'm still sticking to my story. I still think the West Coast is definitely more influential. And I mean, still to this day, who's running hip hop now?
I'd say 95% of America would, well, actually, let's just say the world. 95% of the world would agree that East Coast is better than the West Coast, but
I said no.
Moving on.
I said no.
Moving on.
As of now, I mean, the West Coast always have more variety. They just, and that's still the story to this day, have more variety in the...
Yeah, don't mind her, guys. Don't mind her.
Is this not true? Do they not have more variety right now?
I mean, they have more variety, but as a whole, East Coast on top. Moving on.
West Coast on top. Shout out to Tupac.
Whatever. Let's get into the 13th Amendment now before we really start a fight.
East Coast, West Coast.
Yes,
so moving on to our society topic. Again, we are going to be talking about the 13th Amendment and treatment in prison.
Which the two really go hand in hand.
It definitely goes hand in hand. So it's been, people have been talking about they want it to be changed or abolished, which I definitely agree, because the 13th Amendment states, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, hereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
Which really translates to legal slavery to me. It's like, in order to make a free person a slave, all you have to do is convict them of something, like, no matter how small it is.
Literally, and that's exactly what has been going on. That you read this and it's like, oh, that's easy. All I gotta do is target people for crimes, particularly Black people.
Exactly. Like, when the amendment was made, it was illegal for Black people to read, so they read the amendment and they're going to jail. So
exactly, like, and literally after the Civil War, it was like Black people was going to jail so much for the smallest things ever. So it's basically making you a slave again, and I don't understand why everybody wouldn't think that this should be changed.
Exactly, and it's still that way today, like hundreds of years later. Nothing has changed, and they want to talk about make America great again. When was it great in the first place?
Literally, the things that they do just gives us the illusion that things are changing when nothing is changing at all. They're giving us the illusion that they're trying to help us. Things like 3 strikes, you know, so you, after your 3rd felony, no matter what it is, you're going to jail for 25 years to life. And it's just, I feel like America has built their economy off of having people work for free and just having the business, you know, it's easier for businesses to have people work for them for free.
Yeah, so it's definitely having people make their shit in jail for 8 cents a week.
Yes, literally, are not even getting paid at all. Like, I seen that, you know, when the gas station BP had that oil spill, they had Louisiana prisoners clean it up and they didn't pay them at all. So literally,
it's free labor.
Literally,
anything to save money.
Changed. Yes,
so greedy.
And that's what's wrong with America. So I definitely feel like the 13th Amendment needs to be changed.
Yeah, and then at the same time, they're actually making money off the prison system, because it's like, I go to court, I gotta pay you such and such fees, I gotta pay you to be in jail.
Yes, and then you're making money off of me for me being, like, when working free labor, you're making money off of me.
It's just, it's terrible.
It's a terrible world.
And then it's like the conditions of prison are just so inhumane, like solitary confinement. I just don't believe in that shit whatsoever. Like, a person is not meant to be caged like an animal, especially for 23 hours a day.
They're caged like an animal. Not only are they caged like an animal, the cops in there treat them like animals.
Exactly.
The people in jail have to literally every day live in fear. You don't know if a cop is gonna beat you up. You don't know if your person like on your bunk bed is gonna decide to wake up and beat you up. And this is okay to people. Like, the way people get treated in jails is really okay just because they committed a crime. If you go to jail for
a non-violent drug charge or something of that nature.
Yeah, and it'd be for a long ass time. And even if it is crime, I just think the people that should be in jail is like people that are teachers, maybe people that can understand mental illness to actually help this person. You throw them in this zoo is what it's like, how they treat them, and then you think that they're gonna come out
free
different.
For all.
You think that they're gonna come out different,
but they don't want them to. That's the thing. They want to take them out of society and just, I don't know, make them disappear. And I just feel like jail or prison, it should just be set up totally different. I just think criminals don't need to be punished. They need to be rehabilitated. Like, each person needs to be looked at differently because everyone has a different mindset.
Exactly.
So I just feel like everyone should be evaluated in a different way when they're being sentenced. And I just feel like they need to set up programs that's gonna help that person mentally. Because, like, a killer, for example, like, obviously it's something in their mentality that makes them want to do that to somebody. So instead of locking them in a prison with other killers
exactly.
and people that's gonna enable their behavior, like, that just makes no sense to me. And then when you get out of prison, it's just like you still don't exist. You can't vote.
You can't vote, which is literally the same thing as slavery.
Yes.
They take away your right to vote. Sometimes they don't even think that they like give them food stamps, don't give them like.
Yeah, if you're a felon, you can't get housing assistance.
You can't do anything at all, which back to the 13th Amendment, it literally has changed nothing. You're still breaking black families apart. You're still doing slavery. Like,
I just feel like the entire goal of America has been to remove black people from society. Like how when you're a felon, you can't vote. So it's like, the majority of people in prison are minorities, so you send them to prison and you take away all of their rights to make any sort of decisions or changes in the country.
Yeah, they don't want black people to progress at all. They want to keep us under control. Exactly. And they want,
it's all about population control.
Exactly, they want to keep us exactly where they want us, and it's sad because they do right now. They truly do.
It's sad. It's like they try to throw in little shit in the media or just little shit to condition people to think that things are getting better. Like, they might send 1 or 2 cops to prison for shooting a black person unarmed to make people think like, okay, maybe they're starting to realize, like, maybe things are starting to change. But don't get caught up in that shit, because
even them,
it's that one person that may have gotten arrested, but don't forget everybody else that didn't.
Even them at least taking the cop to trial is them trying to give us the illusion that they care about what's going on in our society, but they don't, because it's really simple, like, to change. I feel like it's really very simple to change.
It's just, racism is just such a stupid concept. And I was like, I read this article about this man who used to be a grand wizard for the KKK. And he was like, one day I just had an epiphany and I was talking to this black lady outside of this church, and it just came to me like, wow, she's really nice. And he was like, ever since then I just quit being racist. I quit the KKK. And I'm like, exactly. Like, why would you hate somebody because of a color that they can't control?
But even then, like, it's not that person's fault, because they're really brainwashed.
Yeah, they were brought up that way. He said in the article as well that he was raised to be that way. His family was racist. So it's just, maybe once all the old people die.
Just like he was raised to be racist.
I know, and then they're gonna raise their kids to be racist. It's foolish.
It's a sad world that we live in. And then it's sad to when black people try to speak up for black people, they really, as far as like, say, take it back to like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the Black Panthers, where are all of those people now? You know?
Yeah, there's no like great influencers like that.
They really took all our leaders and killed them and put them in jail, and then they continue to commit us for crimes and put other black men in jail. So they're literally taking all of our leaders out of the situation to where we just feel like we can't even do anything.
I feel like what they do, like how they did take away all of the leaders, what they're trying to do is diminish Black people's self-esteem. Like,
of course,
that's why they cracked down on the Black Panthers, because they saw like, wow, they feel really empowered. They're really gonna try and make a difference. We gotta do something about it.
And it's like literally,
I feel like it's trickled down because nobody really has self-esteem to, you know, get up and make a difference the way that MLK did, or Malcolm X, the Black Panthers.
Yeah, and it's like, it's sad because all these people like Martin Luther King, who was for peace and trying to help Black people, the FBI is after him. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Fred Hampton, they really went in this man's house and killed him.
Literally, his family was in. They just walked in there and shot up his house. The FBI, like
the FBI,
like, like I don't even. It's just sometimes it's so overwhelming for me, and I just don't even know what to say about it. Sometimes
it's just, I know, it's mind blowing. Honestly, like the main example, like I feel like of this time of how fucked up our justice system is Khalif Browder. If you guys haven't heard of him or his story, please look it up. Jay-Z produced a 6-part documentary on his story, and I cried every episode.
I definitely cried.
Number one, he got arrested off of a false accusation. Somebody on the street said he stole his backpack. Number one, that's a small ass crime. Number two,
he was a kid too.
Yes, he was a teenager, like 15 years old. And then they took him to jail, and they were like, we're not gonna arrest you, we're just asking you questions, blah, blah, blah. And they arrested him. And they really did not give this man a trial for 2 years. This guy, he's in Rikers Island, one of the most violent prisons in the country.
Child.
In Rikers Island.
A child.
Yes, and they did not give him a trial for 2 years. He spent pretty much his entire time in solitary confinement. And while he wasn't in solitary confinement, the treatment that he received, like, guards would literally beat his ass. He was getting jumped by gangs, like, all because he was accused of stealing a backpack. He didn't even steal it. There was no evidence, and they just kept giving him an excuse as to why he didn't have a trial yet. The prosecution kept saying they were waiting on the witness. And they were like, we're waiting on the witness. We can't find the witness. And it, like, finally after 2 years, we're like, okay, we don't have this witness. And it's just terrible that that happened, because when he came out, after he finally came out and his innocence was proven, like, he was so used to being in solitary confinement, he would just go in his driveway and walk in a square, because that's all he did every day. And then he couldn't take it anymore. He thought people were following him, and he ended up committing suicide. And it's just crazy that America could really break somebody down to the point that they want to kill themselves.
And this is everyday life. Like,
yeah, not even just Khalif. It's just his story just so happened to go public. And thankfully, because of it, they're working on shutting down Rikers Island.
Which they definitely need to, but it's just so much more in prison that we just gotta work on. This again wraps into how nothing has changed in America as far as Black people. They're still trying to break us down mentally, and it's like so many times in life since the time that we got to this country, they have showed us that our lives just does not matter at all. We see a Black person get killed for no reason and nothing happens. A Black person laying dead in the street and nothing happens. We have proof. We have videos that they didn't have
viral videos.
They didn't have a gun. They didn't do nothing, but yet nothing happens. And then you have Black people getting thrown and sent into jail for literally no reason at all, and for a very, I mean, I'm not gonna say no reason at all, but like just the
reasons that you shouldn't be getting that amount of time.
Right, exactly. The reason why you shouldn't be getting that amount of time for. And it's just like they forever show us that our lives don't matter. They forever show us that we have to live in fear, because it's like one day I can just be that normal black person walking down the street and I get killed for no reason as well.
You get pulled over or something and he thinks you're reaching for a gun. Something that's simple.
It's sad that we have to live life day by day and have to think of things like this. Like we really be thinking in the most simplest place that something may happen to us just because we're black. And that's exactly how they want it to be. They want us to live in fear. Like what's a stronger way of control than fear? Having you fearing something?
Yeah, fear is definitely the biggest control factor in anybody's life. And it's honestly frustrating at this point, because it's like, what is it going to take? What do we have to do for things to change and for everyone to be treated equally?
I don't know, man, and that's really sad, but I just hope for us as a people we keep doing our part to at least plant the seed for the person that will eventually be able to change this world. I don't think that we should give up just because it's changing slowly, very slowly. I mean, it's barely changing at all, but I don't think that we should give up.
I don't either. I definitely don't. So I do want to bring up, just because, you know, Kanye, he's a huge controversy right now, and he did just visit the White House. So I just want to talk on that a little bit, because it's like I understand his mission and what he wants to accomplish as far as, you know, changing the 13th Amendment and bringing equality. I just feel like he's going about it all wrong. Like,
completely.
All that extra shit he's doing, kissing Donald Trump's ass, talking about the MAGA hat is a Superman cape. Like, that's all unnecessary. Like, okay, go to the White House and sit down with him. But
first of all,
talk about the issues.
Exactly. First of all, I agree with how you said the 13th Amendment. Like what he is saying, I understand.
Yeah, his goals are understandable.
This man sat at this table and just basically went on a rant, and Donald Trump barely looked this man in the eye. He just kept on saying, "Oh yeah, this was supposed to be lunch. This was supposed to be lunch." Like, how can you not like?
And you can tell he doesn't give a fuck about the issue. Exactly.
And you're sitting there saying this man inspired you?
Yeah.
How, Kanye? Like, using that against you. How does this man inspire you? He's literally based off of hatred. And it's like, I'm trying so hard to just wait for Kanye's plan.
Yeah, I'm trying to have faith for the outcome, but his journey on doing it is not what's up. Like, I know he's all about spreading love and peace right now, but
Donald Trump is the complete opposite.
Like, okay, you could be peaceful with Donald Trump, but don't do all that extra shit. Give him a hug at the end of the meeting. Telling him the MAGA hat is like a Superman cape. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me that he's doing all of that extra shit.
I really don't understand how he can say that the MAGA hat, what you say?
The MAGA hat?
Yeah.
Was like a Superman cape.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can say that, because again, it says make America great again. When was America ever great for you? Like, you from the south side of Chicago. You should know.
Come on.
Like, what do you, don't get mad. Like, what do you mean this is the Superman cape? I don't understand, Kanye. I don't.
Yeah, with all this bullshit going on in America, that's exactly why self-care is so important. You have to make sure you stay mentally strong, so you can't let this shit break you down. And that really gets us into becoming aware of your thoughts and keeping them positive.
Mm-hmm. So with me, as far as being aware of my thoughts, it's really, the way that I do it is trying to balance my emotion with my knowledge. And I mean, like, I don't want my emotions to overpower what I know is best for me.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, so that's
which is really important, because like a lot of the books that we read, it stresses that I don't want to say that emotions aren't real.
Yeah.
It just more so stresses that your emotions aren't who you really are.
Yeah, do not get too...
Don't get wrapped up in.
Yeah, in the way that you're feeling. I just think, I mean, of course it's easier said than done.
It is over time.
Practice makes perfect, and if you're angry, just take a second to sit back and realize why you're angry.
Accept that the anger is there.
Yeah, accept that it's there and understand why it's there, and try to see if you can change it. If you can't change it, let it go.
Exactly, because getting worked up over things that you can't control is only going to create more of a stressful environment for you in your own mind. Because honestly, the mind is the most destructive thing on this planet to anybody. That's why becoming aware of your thoughts is so important. Like, even if you just start slow, like one day, 1 week at a time. That's how we started.
Yeah,
like we've been on this journey for about 2 years, and honestly, we're just now getting this shit down pat.
Literally, just now.
So don't get frustrated if you're like, you recognize that you're thinking for 10 seconds and then you go back into your thoughts. Like, that's okay, because any amount of time that you recognize your thoughts is progress. And it's like your mind will strengthen over time and you'll start to become more aware. So when you realize that you are thinking, notice, is that thought unpleasant, or is this thought pleasant, or is it neutral? And then you'll start to notice within yourself, are my thoughts mostly negative, or are my thoughts mostly positive? And you'll start to see what you need to work on within yourself and your mind.
Exactly, which I think that brings in thinking positive. Once you do see that you are thinking negative thoughts and you understand why you're thinking it and if you can change it or not, it's good to follow up that negative thoughts with like something that makes you happy, something that you're grateful for, because positive thinking comes back way more stronger than like having a negative thought out in the world.
But it's like, we're not telling you to resist your negative thoughts. The most important thing is to not resist. Accept rather than resist.
Yes, you have to accept whatever is going on.
What you resist persists.
Exactly.
The real shit. So don't suppress anything. Accept that it's there. And it's also important not to judge yourself for your thoughts as well, because that will also destroy you as a person.
Yes, and a good thing for me that I do is I like to write down what I'm thinking. When you write it down, first of all, you let it out. You're not bottling it in. And then for me, today when I go back and look at something that I may have been thinking like a month ago, and I think like, wow, I really overcame.
I came a long way.
Yeah, I really overcame the way that I felt at that time. So it reminds me that it's possible, and it reminds me if I have something going on right now that I'm gonna be okay, just like I was when I look back at my notes.
Exactly. Like, positive affirmations are just so important because they're just little reminders that those negative thoughts and those negative things that you're feeling, they don't last. They pass, and you have complete 100% control over those thoughts and emotions. You just have to gain that control over yourself.
Yeah, understand that pain does not last forever.
Yeah,
nothing.
Exactly. So one thing that helps me and reminds me to be aware of my thoughts and to remain positive, I set up little sticky notes all over my apartment with just little positive quotes. So I have one on my front door, I've got one on my refrigerator, by my light switches. So basically, just anytime I walk somewhere in my house, I just see that positive affirmation, and it just reminds me to continue to think positive.
Exactly. Which, I mean, these are ways that works for us. Find your way that works.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have their own way.
Yeah, the best way that it works for you to feel like you can express, or for you to have more of a positive mindset.
Exactly, because mental health and awareness is just, it's so important. And not only does your mental health affect you as a person, it also affects those around you and the experiences that happen to you.
Exactly, because literally we don't think for no reason at all. Everything in the world happens for a
mind
reason.
is not a joke.
Yes,
It's
everything
not a joke.
that you're thinking, you're living.
What you think about, you bring about.
Exactly. So if you try to stay on a positive mindset, I guarantee you, positive things will start to happen in your life.
And we'll talk more about that in our episodes to come. We have this book called The Secret that changed our life again.
So many books changed our lives.
Yeah, reading is really it. But basically it just talks about how positive thinking can shape your life. So we will get into that in our next few episodes. And
we have so many ways to stay positive. So it's going to be in a lot of our episodes.
Yeah, so
because that's where you start, with your mind and thinking positive, and everything else follows.
Exactly. So I think we can, wrap it up here.
Yeah.
And don't forget to follow our social media.
Don't forget to contact us if you need any help.
Yes,
if you
subscribe to our shit.
Any comments on the West Coast versus
Oh yes,
East Coast?
let us know what side you're on. Yes,
for real.
Let us know what you think the best hip hop album of all time is. Just interact with us. We like to talk.
Let us know what you think about the 13th Amendment and Kanye's rant.
Yes, what's your opinion? We post every Monday and every Thursday. We do 2 episodes a week right now. And we'll see you on Thursday for Throwback Thursday. Adios.
Oh, you here too?
Great outro song.
You can look at it with a 3 strikes law. You can look at it where they're building more jails. They're starting to sell jail space. Yeah. Jail is big business. Believe me, I'm in jail. I see the big business. They charge you for your telephone calls. They charge you for disciplinary problems. Jail is big business. You can feed a whole town off one jail. This jail is in the middle of a town that feeds everybody. Everybody works here. This is the main income. So if there was no criminals, nobody would work.